The intelligence report that changed everything, September 12, 1944. Deep inside the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, Dr. Heinrich Volkmann stood frozen over a stack of intercepted American intelligence reports, documents that shattered every belief German atomic scientists had about their enemy's progress. What he uncovered that morning revealed a devastating truth. While Germany's greatest minds had been chasing theories, America had already built the weapon that could end the war. The paper trembled between Dr. Heinrich Volkmann's fingers as he read the decoded American transmission for the third time. September 12, 1944. 06:30 hours. Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Physics, Berlin. The intercepted message from Los Alamos confirmed Germany's darkest fear. The Americans weren't merely exploring the idea of atomic weapons. They were only months away from deploying one. Volkmann, Germany's foremost nuclear physicist and director of the Irvine program, had spent 3 years convinced that German science led the world in atomic research. After all, it was German scientists who had first split the uranium atom in 1938. Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann had uncovered the secret of nuclear fission right here in Berlin, 6 years before this moment of reckoning. But the intelligence report, obtained through Operation Bernard's intricate web of intercepted Allied communications, painted a picture completely at odds with everything the German scientific community believed about American capabilities. While German researchers wrestled with basic theoretical challenges and crippling shortages, the Americans had already built an entire secret city in the New Mexican desert. Professor Werner Heisenberg, Germany's most renowned theoretical physicist, had continually assured Reich leadership that atomic weapons were still a distant concept, perhaps decades from reality. Just 6 months earlier, his calculations presented to Nazi officials claimed that any functional atomic bomb would require uranium enrichment facilities the size of whole cities, making such weapons economically and logistically impossible during wartime. The intercepted American documents revealed the astonishing truth. The United States had, in fact, built uranium enrichment facilities the size of cities. Oak Ridge, Tennessee, employed more than 75,000 workers in a classified installation larger than many industrial centers in Germany. Hanford, Washington, covered 586 square miles and operated plutonium production reactors that German scientists had only discussed in theory. Dr. Klaus Riedel, Volkmann's deputy and a former student of Max Planck, examined the technical specifications inside the intelligence report with growing disbelief. The Americans had solved the critical separation problems that had stalled German research for years. Their gaseous diffusion plants could process uranium on a scale that made Germany's experimental efforts look primitive. The psychological shock to the German scientific team was immediate and crushing. These were men who saw themselves as the intellectual heirs of Einstein, Planck, and Heisenberg, the nation that had given birth to quantum mechanics and modern physics. Realizing that American industrial might had transformed theoretical concepts into actual weapons was more than a scientific setback. It was a humiliation. As Volkmann continued reading through the intercepted documents, one detail clarified the scale of Germany's misjudgment. The Americans weren't relying on a single path to an atomic bomb. They had pursued multiple routes simultaneously. While German scientists argued over theories, the United States advanced both uranium enrichment and plutonium production at the same time, backing their research with enormous resources that dwarfed the entire German war economy. Yet ironically, the German atomic program had begun with every imaginable advantage. When Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann achieved nuclear fission in December 1938, Germany possessed the most advanced nuclear physics community on Earth. The breakthrough occurred in Berlin laboratories that had produced more Nobel Prize winners than any other scientific institution in the world. Professor Abraham Esau, appointed Reich Marshal for nuclear physics in 1939, initially commanded vast resources. The Reich Research Council funneled heavy funding into the project, seized uranium stocks from occupied Czechoslovakia, and assigned Germany's most brilliant minds to explore the military potential of atomic energy. By 1940, the Heereswaffenamt, the German Army's weapons research division, had officially declared all nuclear work Kriegsentscheidend, militarily decisive, but despite these advantages, the program was crippled from the start. The first fatal mistake arose from constant bureaucratic rivalry among competing Nazi organizations. The Reich Research Council, the SS Ahnenerbe, the Luftwaffe Technical Office, and the Navy's Research Division each launched their own atomic programs, scattering resources and duplicating work. Dr. Kurt Diebner, physicist and SS Obersturmbannführer, competed directly with Heisenberg's Kaiser Wilhelm Institute team. Their rivalry crippled cooperation, blocked essential information sharing, and split Germany's already limited uranium supplies across rival research tracks. Meanwhile, in America, scientists at Los Alamos worked under a single unified military command. In Germany, researchers hid discoveries to protect their bureaucratic turf. The second disastrous miscalculation centered on resource allocation. Convinced the war would be won quickly through conventional means, German leadership refused to invest in long-term research. In 1940, Reich Minister Fritz Todt informed atomic scientists that any weapons program requiring more than 2 years would receive minimal support. That decision alone all but erased Germany's chance of building an atomic bomb during the war. Professor Paul Hartek of the University of Hamburg had proposed gaseous diffusion for uranium enrichment in 1940, the very technique the Americans later employed so successfully at Oak Ridge. His proposal was dismissed as too resource-heavy and too uncertain. The Reich Ministry of Education granted Hartek's project funding comparable to what the Americans spent on the Los Alamos cafeteria in a single month. German scientists also faced obstacles their American counterparts never had to consider. Allied bombing raids repeatedly targeted research centers. The Kaiser Wilhelm Institute suffered 3 direct hits in 1943, wiping out 2 years of experimental data and forcing research teams to scatter into improvised rural laboratories. Equipment shortages became routine as the war machine shifted every priority toward conventional weapons. But perhaps the most devastating factor was Germany's own purge of scientific talent. Many of its brightest physicists, Einstein, Szilard, and countless others, had been expelled or killed, stripping the nation of the very minds most capable of guiding atomic research. Germany's early atomic advantage Fermi, and dozens of other expelled scientists, now worked for America's Manhattan Project. The brain drain that began in 1933 had handed Germany's early atomic advantage directly to its enemies, though German leadership never grasped how critical this loss truly was. By 1942, German atomic research had stalled around theoretical reactor concepts that showed potential for energy production, but offered no clear path toward weapons. Heisenberg's team managed to achieve nuclear chain reactions in small experimental piles, but scaling these experiments to produce weapons-grade material required industrial commitments far beyond what Germany could supply. The intelligence reports Volkmann pored over made brutally clear how completely American industrial strength had erased Germany's scientific head start. While German researchers worked with small groups of graduate students and improvised equipment, Los Alamos employed thousands of physicists, chemists, and engineers in purpose-built facilities with virtually limitless resources. Dr. Walter Gerlach, who had replaced Esau as director of the atomic program in 1944, had recently estimated that Germany might achieve a functional atomic reactor by 1947, assuming no further bombing disruptions and consistent resource allocation. But the intercepted documents revealed that by 1944, the United States had already constructed multiple production reactors and was generating weapons-grade plutonium at industrial scales. The breakthrough that sealed Germany's fate had occurred 3 years earlier in a basement at Columbia University. Dr. Enrico Fermi, the Italian physicist who escaped Mussolini's racial policies, achieved the world's first controlled nuclear chain reaction on December 2, 1942. What German scientists failed to understand was that this moment marked America's transition from theory to industrial-scale bomb development. The intelligence files also revealed the breathtaking scale of American progress. General Leslie Groves, appointed to lead the Manhattan Project in September 1942, had transformed atomic research from an academic curiosity into the largest scientific industrial effort in human history. Within just 18 months, the United States had constructed three enormous secret facilities that made Germany's entire scientific infrastructure look insignificant. At Oak Ridge, Tennessee, American engineers pursued uranium enrichment through multiple parallel methods. The K-25 gaseous diffusion plant, completed in early 1944, stretched across 44 acres under one roof and consumed more electricity than entire American cities. The Calotrons at Y-12 used electromagnetic separation techniques that German scientists had dismissed as unrealistic. But what shocked the German research teams most was the scale. Oak Ridge employed more physicists than existed in all of occupied Europe. Dr. Robert Oppenheimer's leadership at Los Alamos embodied everything Germany's atomic program lacked. While German scientists were trapped in bureaucratic rivalries, Oppenheimer unified America's brightest minds under military discipline and limitless funding. The intercepted reports described an entire scientific city where theoretical physicists worked beside explosives specialists, metallurgists collaborated with electronics experts, and pure research transformed seamlessly into engineering solutions. Within weeks of reading the documents, the German teams realized how far behind they truly were. The American approach to plutonium production displayed industrial thinking no one in Germany had imagined. At Hanford, Washington, the DuPont Corporation constructed production reactors using methods borrowed from large-scale chemical manufacturing. While German researchers debated the theory behind reactor designs, the Americans built machines capable of producing weapons-grade plutonium by the kilogram. Professor Niels Bohr's escape to America in 1943 had further accelerated U.S. progress. Bohr, who had shaped an entire generation of European physicists, now advised American bomb designers on critical mass calculations and assembly methods that remained out of reach for German researchers. The intelligence files revealed American innovations that overturned Germany's core assumptions. Critical mass estimates that German scientists once believed required several tons of uranium had been reduced to workable quantities through advanced implosion techniques. The Americans had solved assembly challenges using conventional explosives expertise, knowledge that Germany's splintered research groups simply did not possess. The most devastating revelation was that the United States pursued multiple bomb designs simultaneously. While German scientists argued endlessly over whether uranium or plutonium offered the better path, the Americans developed both. The Little Boy uranium bomb and the Fat Man plutonium implosion device represented parallel solutions that ensured American success no matter the obstacles. The intercepted communications even outlined American testing schedules, confirming Germany's worst fears. Trinity, the code name for the first American atomic test, was set for July 1945 in the New Mexican desert. After 3 years of theoretical debate, German scientists now understood that their enemies would field functional atomic weapons within months. Dr. Volkmann understood that German atomic research had fundamentally misread the challenge. While German scientists treated atomic weapons as elegant theoretical puzzles, the Americans had viewed bomb development as an engineering problem demanding overwhelming industrial force. That single philosophical difference had decided the outcome long before German researchers even realized the race had begun. July 16, 1945, 8:05:29 hours. The Trinity test in the Alamogordo Desert confirmed every fear the German scientific community had ever whispered. The intercepted American communications, decoded 3 days later, described a fireball rising 38,000 feet into the New Mexican sky and carving a crater 200 feet wide. Theory had become reality, brutal, blinding, and unstoppable. Dr. Volkmann received the Trinity report just as German atomic researchers gathered for their final wartime conference at Stadtilm. The timing was cruelly ironic. While German physicists argued over whether atomic weapons were even theoretically achievable, American scientists had already unleashed an explosion equal to 21,000 tons of TNT. Germany's intelligence network, efficient at intercepting Allied communications, but blind to American industrial capability, had failed to grasp the true scale of the Manhattan Project until the blast itself revealed it. Colonel Erwin Rechmund, Germany's chief scientific intelligence officer, had repeatedly dismissed earlier reports about Oak Ridge and Hanford as Allied disinformation intended to lure Germany into impossible research commitments. Professor Max von Laue, Nobel laureate and Volkmann's senior advisor, studied the Trinity data in growing shock. The Americans had achieved nuclear fission efficiency that German theory insisted was impossible. Critical mass estimates that German scientists believed required tons of uranium had been reduced to workable quantities through implosion methods they had never even considered. The intelligence files exposed operational details that shattered every German assumption about atomic deployment. The Fat Man plutonium bomb weighed 10,800 pounds and measured 10 feet 8 inches, dimensions small enough for delivery by existing bomber aircraft. German researchers had always calculated that any practical atomic device would need entirely new delivery systems that might not exist for decades. Dr. Carl Friedrich von Whittaker, Heisenberg's protege and theoretical specialist, attempted to reconstruct American breakthroughs from the intercepted technical data. His calculations revealed the overwhelming scale of U.S. uranium enrichment. Oak Ridge's gaseous diffusion plants had processed uranium in quantities that surpassed Germany's entire wartime supply by hundreds of times. The bomb assembly systems demonstrated engineering refinement Germany had never come close to achieving. The implosion lenses used in the plutonium device required explosive precision manufacturing that blended conventional weapons expertise with advanced nuclear physics, something the fragmented German research establishment had never been capable of producing. German atomic research, confined to academic institutions, lacked the explosive specialists who might have bridged the gap between theory and weaponization. August 6, 1945, Hiroshima. At 8:15 hours local time, the Enola Gay released Little Boy, obliterating 5 square miles of the city and killing roughly 80,000 people instantly. German monitoring stations detected the seismic signature within hours, confirming what they had feared. The United States had moved from atomic testing to full operational deployment. The Hiroshima bombing exposed a strategic mindset entirely foreign to German planners. While German doctrine focused on precision strikes against specific targets, the Americans had crafted atomic weapons intended for total area destruction, tools capable of erasing entire cities in a single strike. The psychological effect on civilian populations marked a form of warfare German military thinking had never envisioned. August 9, 1945, Nagasaki. Fat Man detonated at 11:02 hours local time, proving that the United States possessed not just one atomic device, but multiple, and could execute sustained nuclear operations. The mere 3 days between bombings demonstrated production capabilities that made American atomic superiority permanent and unchallengeable. German intercepts of Japanese communications described devastation beyond any conventional frame of reference. Temperatures at ground zero reached 7,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize human bodies and melt steel. Radioactive fallout generated lethal contamination zones that remained deadly for weeks. For German scientists, Nagasaki confirmed the total collapse of their atomic ambitions. While they had spent years debating theoretical possibilities, America had designed, tested, refined, and deployed multiple atomic weapons that ended the Pacific War within days of their first use. The psychological defeat among German physicists was as absolute as the physical destruction in Japan. Dr. Volkmann's team, once proud heirs to the legacy of Einstein and Planck, now faced the truth that German nuclear research had ceased to matter long before Germany fell. The intercepted documents made the contrast undeniable. German physicists had been theoretical, American scientists had been relentlessly practical. Professor Heisenberg's reputation, built on decades of groundbreaking theory, collapsed under the weight of his wartime misjudgments. His assurances to Nazi leadership that atomic weapons were impossible had been proven disastrously wrong just months after Germany's surrender. Post-war interrogations by Allied intelligence revealed Heisenberg's fundamental misunderstanding of the engineering realities behind bomb construction. The Farm transcripts, recorded secretly by British intelligence, captured the German physicists' reactions to Hiroshima in real time. When the BBC announced the bombing, the 10 German scientists detained at the countryside estate dismissed the broadcast as Allied exaggeration. Their disbelief soon gave way to stunned realization as further details confirmed American atomic triumph. Dr. Otto Hahn, whose 1938 discovery of nuclear fission had sparked the atomic age, suffered a complete nervous breakdown upon learning that his work had enabled mass destruction. The scientist whose research unlocked atomic energy now bore a personal weight for weapons that killed hundreds of thousands of Japanese civilians. His colleagues at Farm Hall worried for his mental stability in the days following Hiroshima. Post-war analysis by the German scientific community revealed systemic failures extending far beyond individual errors. Bureaucratic rivalries had blocked essential collaboration, while limited resources had made large-scale experimentation impossible. Most importantly, the expulsion of Jewish physicists had directly transferred Germany's atomic advantage to American laboratories. International scientific opinion shifted sharply against German researchers who had worked under the Nazi regime. The Allied scientific community, once respectful of German theoretical contributions, now regarded German atomic research as both incompetent and morally compromised. German physicists found themselves excluded from post-war international conferences and collaborative projects. The strategic consequences of Germany's atomic failures became clear as the Cold War emerged. The United States' atomic monopoly would dominate global relations for decades. German scientists realized that their theoretical debates had occurred while America built weapons that permanently reshaped the balance of power. Meanwhile, Soviet nuclear research, accelerated by captured German scientists and American secrets obtained through espionage, successfully tested atomic weapons by 1949. The atomic age that German research had inadvertently initiated would be dominated by superpowers that learned from German mistakes while avoiding their limitations. Decades later, Dr. Volkmann's personal correspondence revealed the profound regret of German atomic researchers. They had possessed the theoretical knowledge to change history, yet bureaucratic inefficiency and resource constraints had prevented its practical application. Understanding that atomic weapons were possible proved meaningless without the industrial commitment to make them real. The German atomic program's failure shaped post-war scientific policy in ways its researchers could never have foreseen. American success proved that massive government investment in scientific endeavors could achieve what once seemed impossible. This lesson would go on to guide space exploration, computer development, and medical research for generations. Contemporary analysis of German atomic research underscores a timeless truth. Theoretical brilliance alone, without practical execution, remains insufficient. The Trinity Test Shock. German atomic research proved academically fascinating but strategically meaningless. Scientists who had unlocked the secrets of the atom discovered that knowledge without application equaled irrelevance in the ultimate test of warfare. The atomic bombs that ended World War II were built using German scientific discoveries, but by German refugee scientists working with American industrial power. This bitter irony haunted surviving German physicists for the rest of their lives, knowing they had begun research their enemies completed far more successfully. The final irony of German atomic research emerged in the decades after World War II. The very scientists once dismissed as theoretically brilliant but practically ineffective became pioneers in peaceful atomic energy development. Dr. Volkmann, Dr. Heisenberg, and their colleagues applied their expertise to reactor design and nuclear power generation, achieving practical results under international supervision. The Farm Hall transcripts, declassified in 1992, revealed conversations that reshaped historical understanding of German atomic capabilities. These secretly recorded discussions confirmed that German scientists genuinely believed atomic weapons were impossible during the war, rather than deliberately sabotaging Nazi efforts as some post-war accounts suggested. Their failure had been intellectual, not moral. Modern analysis of the German atomic program highlights lessons that go far beyond World War II. The Reich's fundamental error, treating atomic research as a competitive academic pursuit rather than a collaborative industrial project, reflects failures still seen in contemporary technology development. Theoretical knowledge without practical execution remains academically interesting but strategically irrelevant. The brain drain that crippled German atomic research established patterns that continue to influence international scientific competition. Nations that suppress intellectual freedom lose innovative capacity to those that embrace diverse perspectives. The Jewish physicists expelled from Germany between 1933 and 1939 did not simply leave, they transferred Germany's atomic advantages directly to American laboratories. Dr. Volkmann's memoirs, published in 1963, acknowledged that German atomic research had been doomed by a fundamental misunderstanding of modern warfare's industrial nature. While German scientists approached atomic weapons as theoretical physics problems requiring elegant solutions, the Americans treated bomb development as an engineering challenge demanding practical solutions supported by unlimited resources. The Manhattan Project's success set the standard for big science that would define the remainder of the 20th century. Large-scale government investment in scientific research, coordinated through military-industrial partnerships, achieved seemingly impossible goals. From atomic weapons to space exploration to computer development, German atomic research, by contrast, remained small-scale and academically focused, while history moved toward industrialized, scientific solutions. Contemporary nuclear proliferation reflects the lessons of German failure. Nations pursuing nuclear weapons now understand that theoretical knowledge alone cannot form the foundation for weapons development. Successful programs require sustained industrial commitment, international scientific collaboration, and decades of systematic effort, exactly what Germany lacked between 1939 and 1945. The psychological burden carried by surviving German atomic scientists shaped their post-war advocacy for nuclear arms control. Having seen American success built on German scientific discoveries, they became influential voices warning against nuclear proliferation. Their unique perspective, scientists who initiated atomic research but failed to complete it, lent moral authority to global peace movements. Today, educational institutions worldwide study the German atomic program as a case study in scientific management and international competition. Business schools analyze the bureaucratic failures that hindered coordination, while policy schools examine how brain drain eroded Germany's scientific advantages. The lessons extend far beyond nuclear physics into modern technology competition. The 8 intercepted American communications that reached Dr. Volkmann in September 1944 had predicted not only U.S. atomic success, but the broader transformation of scientific research, from individual brilliance to coordinated industrial effort. German scientists discovered, too late, that in modern technological warfare, organizational capacity often matters more than individual genius. Today, the former Kaiser Wilhelm Institute functions as the Max Planck Institute, carrying out peaceful scientific research under principles of international cooperation, principles that German atomic research had entirely lacked. The same building where Dr. Volkmann first learned of American atomic success now hosts laboratories where German and international scientists work together on projects designed to advance humanity rather than bring destruction.